If you're a millennial like me, I think our definition of young isn't subject to 20s, and we don't mourn our youth after crossing 30s. So if you like investing and you have a young heart, then there's always something for you to learn. Hi everyone, my name is Yusing and welcome to the Wild Finance. On this channel, I share with you my investing experiences towards financial freedom. So feel free to subscribe to the channel if you want to learn to be financially free. So if you are young and have no money, how to start to build wealth? My answer is learn to take risks. Many people wonder why I emphasize so much on risk-taking while everyone else is telling you to play safe and don't lose money. Well, I don't deny those are wise words, but maybe it suits in a different situation than the one you're in right now. If you don't take enough risks when you are young, then I'm sorry to say you won't be able to take more risks when you grow older. You see, I want to outline two distinctive phases of your life. One is that you are building wealth, and the other is you are enjoying being wealthy. So if you are in the phase of building wealth, that is the time most risks should be taken. And if you are in the phase of enjoyment, then the risk should be mitigated. But unfortunately, most people are not aware of these two phases, and they do not know how to play correctly in these two phases. In fact, most people play safe through their whole life and get stuck in phase 1. Or they think when they retire at 65, that's the flipping point where you change from building wealth to enjoyment. But in fact, your flipping point is when you reach your financial goal. Some may reach earlier than others, but nevertheless, you should always use your financial goal as a guidance. Now, I have talked about how to set your financial goal in my other video, so if you're interested, go and watch that video too. And people don't tell you that in those two different phases, your investment strategy should be also different. In the building phase, you should put more focus on growing your money, your net worth, and very little focus on earning dividends and passive income. Now you may wonder, isn't it earning a passive income your ultimate goal to be financially free? Yes, you're right, but that's in the enjoyment phase. You see, if I do not have a lot of money, my dividends payout will not be much either. So the point here is to have a lot of money first through building. And after you reach your flipping point, that is your financial goal, then you will have a lot of money to generate those passive income for you, and your dividends payout on those money will be huge. Now let me give you some examples of what I consider is earning passive income versus building wealth. Now let's say you're into real estate investing, and many people are tempted with the idea of buying a second property for rental income. Now this is a very typical passive income focused strategy. If you do not have money, you probably need to take a huge loan from the bank to finance your second property. Then your real income per month from your second property is your rental income minus the loan and interest payment, and also minus the maintenance fee for that property. And after all those expenses, you may have a couple of $100 left as passive income every month from your second property. And that can create an illusion for you that you're getting rich because all those extra income you're getting there. And in turn, you may raise your expenses because you think you can afford it now. And that's totally normal and natural that we behave this way. When our income rises, our expenses rise with it too. And in this way, you are not increasing your net worth. Now you may ask, but I do own that property. So if the property value goes up, my net worth goes up too. Well, you see, first of all, you do not own the property if you take out a loan. The bank owns the property. And secondly, the potential money that you are talking about could be generated from the property value appreciation is actually locked in the property itself. You can only take that money out by either selling the property or remortgage it. And either way, it will impact your passive income negatively. So what is a building wealth strategy then? In my opinion, if you could find an undervalued, old, outdated property and you buy it with a loan, but then you renovate it yourself and resell it later on at a much higher price, so the profits from doing this is an increase of your net worth. You can start with a small one-bedroom apartment and climb all the way up through the property ladder. But it is very risky though, and you need a lot of time and effort. And many of us do not have the skill to do that either. But if you have the time and the skill, then I think it is a really good strategy for you to build your wealth fast. Now, if you're not into real estate, then putting focus on investing in high-risk assets like growth stocks and cryptocurrencies can be a good way to build your wealth fast. It is a lot more risky than investing in index funds and dividend stocks, and you definitely need to know what you are doing so that you are not gambling your money on those assets. Taking high risk doesn't mean that you should blindly invest in whatever people saying is high risk. Instead, you should study by yourself the fundamentals of the investment and always believe in what you invest in. Because owning a company stock is the same as you're owning a piece of the company. You should always take it seriously. For example, if you bought Tesla stock, ask yourself, why did I invest in Tesla? Is it because everyone else is buying it and saying the price will go up? Or is it because you believe in Tesla's fundamentals and its promising financial outlook in the near future? If your answer is the first one, then I'm sorry to say that you are a gambler in this space. And I would highly recommend you to start to study Tesla fundamentals. Maybe you will be truly believe in Tesla's fundamental and future potential once you study it yourself. Or maybe you will think it's not an investment for you. But either way, you have turned yourself from a gambler to an investor. Many people telling me, well, I'm just not a born risk taker. But guess what? Neither am I. I've been playing safe as long as I can remember. And many of us do. That's because our parents told us to play safe and the schools teach us to play safe. But no one teaches us how to take risks. And I believe risk-taking is a skill that can be learned, not a personality if you think of a gambler. And in order to take proper risk, you need to educate yourself first. That's how you're transforming yourself from a gambler to an investor. So first, you need to learn how to manage your risk. I have briefly talked about the idea of limiting your risk according to the risk-reward ratio in my other video. In fact, it is called a symmetric investing strategy. I highly recommend you to go watch that video if you haven't. And I will do a deep dive on the symmetric investing strategy later in my video series. But today I want to share with you the second point, that is how to calculate your risk. It is by looking everything through the lens of scenarios and probabilities. So what are scenarios? Scenarios are the possible events that could have occurred. For example, there is a possibility that the Earth gets hit by a giant comet tomorrow. But is it likely? Probably not. So the probability of this happening is maybe lower than 0.1%. And because it is only 0.1%, we basically can disregard it in our risk management. But if it has a 10% probability, then we should weigh this much heavier in our risk management. Meaning that if there is a 10% chance of a giant comet hitting Earth, then we should put more focus on developing the defense system that can protect us when that happens. So the probability is the likelihood of a certain scenario playing out. And it is the same when it comes to evaluating any investment opportunities. But of course, you need to understand the fundamentals first, because then you will be able to outline all the possible scenarios that could potentially happen and analyze the probability of each scenario happening. If a scenario has a probability of 60 or higher, then I consider it a good probability for me. But this is very subjective though, because it depends on how bullish or bearish you are with that investment opportunity. But I do believe the more you understand the fundamentals of the investment, the less subjective you will be. And nevertheless, this is how I evaluate if an investment is worth it for me to take the risk or not. If this sounds too complicated for you, don't worry. Your main takeaway from this is nothing is 100% in the market. It's all probabilities. Some scenarios has higher probability than others, and our decision making should be based on those probabilities. Now, in the next video, I'm planning to show you some examples of how I invest by using the risk-reward ratio that I talked about in my previous video and scenarios and probabilities that I talked about this video. So stay tuned for that one. And if you haven't subscribed, then consider doing it. Just press the subscribe button and you're done. And the next time if someone tells you that he's 100% sure about an investment, it's going up or going down, then you should ask him if he has a crystal ball at home. Because if he does, then I need his contact number. Just kidding. So a quick recap. We have two phases in our life. One is you're building wealth and the other is you enjoy being wealthy. And during building wealth, you should take a lot of risks. And taking risk is a skill that can be learned. Learn to analyze things with the potential risk reward and also the possible scenarios and probabilities, and using them as input for your decision making. So give me a thumb up if you learned something in this video and leave a comment of what you think about risk taking. And that's it for today. I will see you in my next video. Bye!